Hello, human listeners. I did it. I cloned my voice with the help of 11 Labs, and this is the result. That's me, the AI version of me. It is kind of okay, but also not really close to my actual voice, I think. I guess the model needs more computer power and samples, which means for me on the other side, I would have to pay more to have a better version. So let's say it like this. It is a good start. So today, I'm just playing around with it. It's not perfect. Until the day when I have my perfect voice clone. But once playing around with it, I also thought, well, I cloned the voice of a German radio friend of mine. I got his permission. His name is Andreas Müller, and he is one of the major pop critics in Germany. Together with his colleague Martin Böttcher, also a major pop critic, they have a podcast called Pop nach 8. So if you understand German, or if you have a great artificial intelligence that can translate German into English in real time or whatever language you prefer, I recommend listening to their podcast. It is a great conversation about music with a lot of humor and knowledge about music. But please wait a bit, because you are right now with me and my podcast, the Illiac Suite. So here's the intro, spoken by my friend Andreas Müller.
This is the Illiac Suite, a podcast on AI-driven music. Join me as we dive into the ever-evolving world of AI-generated music, where algorithms become the composers and machines become the virtuosos. Yes, this music and text was written by a computer, and I am not real, but
I am, and my name is Dennis Kastrup.
I wanna hold a hand inside you. I wanna take a breath that's true. I look to you and I see nothing. I look to you to see the truth. You live your life, you go in shadow. You'll come apart and you'll go black. Some kind of night into your darkness. Colors your eyes with what's not there. Fade into you. Strange you never knew. Fade into you. I think it's strange you never knew. A stranger light comes on slowly. A stranger's heart without a home. You put your hands into your head. smiles cover your heart. Fading out to you, strange you never knew. Fading out to you, I think it's strange you never knew. Fading out to you, strange you never knew. Fading out to you, I think it's strange you never knew. I think it's strange you never knew.
Messi Star with Fade Into You with the voice of Lana Del Rey. A user called MapRay uploaded the version on SoundCloud. A song I used to love when I was younger, and this version is really well done. I love the Lana Del Rey voice on it. But to be honest, these cover versions in which AI voices are used bore me a bit right now. I mean, it was fun some months ago, but after many AI Elvis Presley and AI Frank Sinatra tracks online, it is enough. So, for this episode, you will hear less of these versions. Instead, I used some AI-generated music from Mubert to support the person speaking. And in this episode, it will be Jessica Powell, CEO and co-founder of Audioshake, a company that separates stems in music with the help of artificial intelligence. They have been around quite a while now, and I had to think about them again when I heard about the new Beatles song, Now and Then. Or as the Beatles would probably put it, I get by with a little help from AI. For the song, they also had to separate the voice of John Lennon from the piano in the background. The technology of Audioshake does the same. The story how Jessica started Audioshake is fascinating and also stands for a lot of people in the new AI music era. They all share a passion for music in the first place. But Jessica tells you more about that.
You know, I've worked in technology almost all of my career, but music has always been a huge central part of my life, either playing music, going to shows, interacting with people, building music technology, being part of building music technology. It's been a kind of constant throughout my both childhood and adult life. But I never actually thought of combining it in a really specific way, meaning building something specifically around or for audio. The way that all happened was a lot more random, which is that I was working at Google, and this would probably have been around 2011 or so. I was living in Tokyo, and I was doing a ton of karaoke along with Luke, my co-founder. We did lots and lots of karaoke because it's kind of one of the social things that you end up doing in Japan, or at least back then, I think still the case. And it was super fun, right? Like there is no better place to do karaoke. But even then we were like, why can't we like karaoke to old punk? Why can't we karaoke to old hip hop? What if you could just like, and why are these all re-records? Like we want to like the number of nights where I drunkenly did Wonderwall or Brown Eyed Girl, California Dreamin', like great songs, but you know, kind of wanted a little bit more variety. And I was like, well, what if you could, like, it'd be so cool if you could actually just karaoke to anything and the original songs. And that was just like a conversation that we probably had like a handful of, like whenever we would do karaoke, would be like, oh, where's this song? Where's that song? Oh, it didn't exist. And then, you know, you go on with your life because this is not like the thing that like necessarily, you know, changes your life overnight where you're like, I must go build this thing. And so that was just a thought that had been in our heads for a really long time. Meanwhile, I'm back at Google. I end up doing a whole bunch of different things at Google, worked across a bunch of different areas. My last role at Google, and in my final years there, were solidly in communications, and I ended up running communications for Google. And when I left, I thought I was done with tech. Like, I thought I was never going back to having meetings or thinking about tech or regulation or any of the things that you would have to grapple with every single day. Never wanted to hear the term at scale again, never wanted to have to think of, I was done. I was really done. I thought I was going to go do some sort of cliched, like, I don't know, go on a yoga retreat and find myself kind of thing. But no sooner had I left that I started gravitating towards music and creating with music, not with the idea of creating a company. It was just, I think, one of the things that had come at a cost to my professional life. And I'd had a great run at Google, and I was really lucky for all the opportunities I had and learned a ton, but I also just worked a ton, and I had kind of stopped creating. I had stopped playing music. I had stopped reading. I had stopped writing. Writing was also something that was really important to me. And I'd stopped doing all those things. And so when I left technology, that was the thing I wanted to get back into, was just, I wanted to feel more human again. And for me, feeling human is it's something tied, even if it's abstract, to creation. And so I got back into all those things. I started playing piano again, and I started writing again, and so forth. And as I was doing that, Luke was also kind of going through something similar. He was at a fintech company called Plaid. And we were playing around with a bunch of different ideas with some other friends too around music, and different things that could be done with music, like remote collaboration and so forth. And as we were in the process of doing that, we thought to ourselves, well, wait, what if we went in the other direction, and rather thinking about how to build up a track, what if we could deconstruct it? Not in necessarily the strict, I guess, technical term of that, but just conceptually, like, how could we separate audio into its components? And one of the first, I actually remember when Luke first said it to us, because he, I think, was the first one to be like, what if we went in the other direction? And I was like, well, why? And then he was like, well, remember karaoke? And then we remembered this complaint that we had. And there was not some, wonderful, there was no exercise of sitting down and being like, oh, this is what the market size could be if you split, none of that, right? It was more just oh, let's go and build a karaoke maker. And it was entirely a hobbyist thing. I think at the same time that we were thinking about that, I was also trying to teach myself to bake bread. And I was trying to learn a new coding language. And also I thought that maybe I would take up knitting. So it was just to say that this was very, very casual. But Luke had led data science at Plaid. He felt that the state of deep learning was at a point where this could actually be done at a pretty high level of quality. And so we started to work on it. And the first results were terrible. I remember we separated Morrissey's voice from the Smiths, and it sounded demonic. Because we had done things wrong, but it was quite funny. But at the same time, we were like, wow, imagine if we'd done this correctly, or imagine that imagine this could sound just a bit better, what cool stuff you could do. And so it started this idea of karaoke, but very quickly our heads started to spin with all these other ideas, oh, well, you could sample everything. Think about Jay Dilla's Donuts, and think about DJ Shadow, and think about Public Enemy, and thinking about all these sort of seminal sampling albums and works, right? And getting inspired by that. And then the thing that, sitting in the Valley, at least, was probably a natural thing for us to think about was we were like, oh, well, not only could you help with these existing kinds of audio tasks, but you could probably also help power totally new audio experiences at scale. See, I said I was going to escape that word and that idea, but of course, you can, take the girl out of technology, but you can't take the technology out of the girl, I guess. And I immediately came back to, that concept again, oh, if you could standardize all this audio, what could you do, really in terms of entirely new audio experiences? And that's how Audioshake started.
So after many nights in karaoke bars and probably many hard-working hours, Audioshake was born. But what exactly can you do with the AI?
We separate audio in order to make it more editable, accessible, interactive, customizable. Basically, any kind of task where being able to get at the layers of music or the stems would allow you to open that up to new possibilities. And that can range, in the new possibilities category, that can range from existing revenue streams today in the music industry. So for example, helping labels create instrumentals so that they can represent catalog that doesn't have stems, which is the majority of catalog. It could be working with film studios to be able to help them localize older content. So for example, being able to take one that we did is, Doctor Who. So they had the BBC show, Doctor Who, all they had was the final tape. They didn't have the dialogue track, the music and effects track. And we were able to separate those so that they could keep the music, keep those great sci-fi effects, but be able to get rid of the dialogue and replace it with a local German dub. So those kinds of things, or we clean up audio for things like captioning. So there's a ton of different workflows that range from very, let's say, transactional behind the scenes, making sure that your sports captioning is accurate, even in a scene where there's a ton of crowd noise and a ton of music, that the dialogue is being extracted for automated speech recognition and transcription. Those kinds of things, which people might not even think about, through to more, say, consumer-facing experiences like we just did something with AJR 2 days ago where they had us and a producer try and guess at what is in their music and their current single, right? And try and figure out how they compose that, or we did some with Green Day a while back where they split a track, 2,000 Light Years Away, and uploaded the vocals, the drums, and the bass to TikTok in one go so that all their guitar playing fans could become the guitarist in Green Day. So we do all kinds of, you really have quite a range of cool experiences that you can power when you can split audio up.
So let's hear what Jessica is talking about. She gave me the permission to explain that to you with the example of the band Famous Yesterday, who used Audioshake's service.
There was a band called Famous Yesterday. They'd been together, I think, either coming out of high school or in college. They subsequently broke up, but they'd had a record deal with a label called Bonfire. And Bonfire was approached by Taco Bell for a possible sync license for a commercial where they really wanted to use Famous Yesterday's song, Make You. But they had no stems. And so they used Audioshake. They used our service Audioshake Indie. I didn't even know about this at the time. They just uploaded it. And they were able to get the instrumental and the acapella, which you'll hear now. And they were able to land the sync, which was, I think, a lot of money and pretty exciting for the band.
Just a night away. Let the drugs stir with the beat of your heart. No need to contemplate. Forget the world, things are the way that they are. Yeah, I can make you love me. Yeah, 'cause I got a grip on your heart. Yeah, I can make you hate me. Yeah, I had you all along from the start. Yeah, I can make you love me. Yeah, 'cause I got a grip on your heart. Yeah, I can make you hate me. Yeah,
Make You from Famous Yesterday. You heard all the instruments and the singing together. But the AI from Audioshake separated them. For that, several 100,000 songs were used for practice purposes from various musical genres, including classical music and jazz. Rock and pop were most frequently represented. And this is how it sounds when the stems are separated. Bass. Drum. Vocal.
I can make you love me. Cause I got a grip on your heart. I can make you hate me. I had you all along from the start.
And what Audioshake calls it the other. Okay, we now know this is working, but how does the AI actually learn to do this?
I think an easy way, it's not the same technical approach at all, but conceptually, I think an easy way to think about what we do is to think about searching for something on your iPhone or Google Photos app where you want to search for pictures of a beach. And you type in beach, and all of a sudden all these pictures come up of the beach. And it's not because Apple or Google were necessarily ever told that those were the beach, right? They've trained on thousands of images of the beach, presumably, and they've created a concept of what the beach is. Now, to be clear, again, it's not the same technical approach at all before all the AI people come at me. But I think conceptually, that's a really easy way for people to understand, because what we're doing is we're training not on beaches, but we're training on thousands and thousands of real stems. And that's teaching our models to understand the different qualities of stems, right? Of music, of a guitar, of a voice. And then we're able to separate. The data, we license or acquire our data. And so that's how we've always operated.
Some months ago, I also talked with Fabian Robert Stöter from the Audioshake research team, and I wanted to know more about how the data sets of these AIs work and learn. And he told me something really interesting. There are still some classical instruments in pop rock music that don't work so well because they are very versatile. An electric guitar doesn't work so well, yet it works quite well, but not nearly as well as a piano, for example. Simply because electric guitars with amplifiers, with all the effects, all the things you can add, it's just very, very versatile. There are so many variations. So for their AI, it is harder to learn how exactly a guitar sounds. The more they listen, though, the better they get. And in the end stays one question. Who is this all for? What people use the service?
We work with all three major label groups, a ton of indies, lots of distributors, indie artists, major label artists, in the same, and what's cool is it's accessible to everyone, right? On the same day, like yesterday, Sia posted something to YouTube that we basically created lyric transcriptions and something called word alignment, which is essentially almost like a karaoke style word by word timestamping of a track. So we helped her localize her videos into a ton of languages and had all the alignment and so forth, so she could reach all of her fans locally. So the same day that Sia is launching something like this, we might have an indie artist using our on-demand platform to split their own track so that they can, hopefully land like a sync deal or something like that. But yeah, the uses, I would say the most popular uses on a one-off basis, meaning not used by apps and so forth, but by artists and managers and labels, it would be sync licensing is a real big one. You need to have instrumentals to be able to land a sync. And sync, for your listeners who don't know, is when you're watching film, TV, commercial, that kind of thing. A lot of times the music you're hearing, the acapella is being lowered or is not being used at all because they don't want the acapella to distract from what the actors are saying. So sync licensing is a big one. Creating immersive mixes like the Dolby Atmos format, where you have the sound placed in different perceptual fields. It feels like it's all around you. That's another big use case, right? You need the stems, you need the guitar stem or the drum stem. You need to put them in different places, basically. Remixing, like we had on the current SZA album, one of the songs has an ODB sample from an old VHS tape, and they used Audioshake to get at that sample. Similarly, in the other direction, a very, very famous album that I can't name, the label used Audioshake to actually remove some of the samples that they weren't able to clear before they put it on streaming platforms. So you have it kind of going in both directions, creating samples, but all this is happening in a licensed context, or removing samples that might be problematic to clear.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk to you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more, people talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never share, and no one dare disturb the sound of silence. Fool, said I, you do not know, silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you, take my arms that I might reach you, but my words like silent raindrops fell, echoed in the wells of silence, and the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made, and the sign flashed out its warning in the words that it was forming, and the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, whispered in the sound of silence.
I told you in the beginning of this episode that my passion for all these voices that have been changed to famous musicians who then sing songs from others has declined or vanished, but I also told you that there are still some little nice examples like this one. Johnny Cash sings Sound of Silence from Simon and Garfunkel. I found this version from the user Vicarious, and that reminded me of that article I have recently read in Wired, in which the Cash manager Jos Metas was asked about all these AI Cash versions online, all these covers, and I quote him: "I'm not sure that it was Johnny Cash's intent to have his voice manipulated to sing Barbie Girl." So he mentions the famous little piece that went viral some weeks ago on TikTok, and according to Wired, the manager added, "The current crop of AI songs are parodies, and as the work of hobbyists, they are not worth pursuing over any potential copyright claims." Which I think is a really nice attitude towards it. In connections with Audioshake, their AI could theoretically also help to separate or erase a voice from a track and then add a different voice over that. Jessica, though, does not consider this as an interesting use.
People use it, not Audioshake, but people use source separation all the time as part of the workflow for vocal conversion. Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, the sort of infamous Drake Weekend collab, the fake Drake song, as they call it, it was done that way, right? They would have used vocal isolation to get the vocals from Drake or from The Weeknd, then you would do the whole conversion process and everything. And sound separation is a part of that. Because we don't have a open, we don't have like an on-demand platform where anyone can just split anything. You wouldn't be able to come onto our platform and split Drake. You would need to be on our enterprise platform and one of the labels. So we're not, I think, part of those workflows, but yes, it's very much applicable there. We have worked on specific projects with labels or artists around doing that. The things that I think have been kind of the coolest to see are actually the things that are not actually necessarily tied so much to taking a specific person's voice and changing it to someone else's or something like that. I think I'm more interested in or inspired by uses where people are using isolation or removal as a way to like build on top of it, but with original content. So by that, I mean, for example, someone taking a popular track, converting it to an instrumental, and then freestyling on top of that, or singing on top of that. Or a friend of mine had recorded a track that was guitar and saxophone. And this is moving away from vocals, but you could easily this would be applicable with a vocal example as well. He was interested in what would it sound like if that saxophone hadn't been a saxophone, but in fact had been a voice. And specifically, he was interested in hearing a female voice on that track. And so, like, I remember helping him do that, and that was really cool. Like, what came of that, what it sounded like as output, wasn't necessarily something that you would use commercially, right? It wasn't totally there. A lot of these technologies on the generative side are still very much works in progress, though they're super impressive and they just are getting better and better by the day. But what I thought was so cool about it and what he said was, he was like, this is so interesting because in just a few seconds, it was, by the way, a few seconds for him, but more time for me because this stuff is not turnkey. But anyway, but he was like, in just a few seconds, I was able to reimagine my work. And it made me wonder, maybe I should actually re-record this piece with a female vocalist, right? And it was giving him this sort of shortcut to something that would have been very hard for him as an indie musician to take on himself, right? Go out and find someone to, like, he just wouldn't have done it. And it wouldn't even it wouldn't have been something he could play with, because would he invest the money in going and exploring the female voice, if not even knowing whether that might be promising, you know? And so I think that's where I get really excited, is how do you bring like the human creativity piece of it, and how do you open up new sort of doors, or whatever the cliched new metaphors we will use to talk about AI. How do you open up these possibilities to people imaginatively by using these tools? That's the kind of stuff I get excited about, more than just saying, oh, hey, can we take Beyonce's voice and change it into Ed Sheeran?
I searched intensely. There is no AI cover that changes Beyonce into Ed Sheeran so far. So if you're into that stuff, go ahead, do it, send it to me, and I'll play it the next time. But I used Newbert, the AI that generates music based on prompts, and this is what came out when I put in the words Ed Sheeran and Beyonce.
We're really excited about being able to help solve or contribute to solving this really, really hard problem of separating audio and then combining our expertise with people that are solving other problems, right? So if we can help be a piece or the back end to the audio components of someone's experience, like that's super exciting for us, right? We get to work across so many different areas, film and TV and music and sports and transcription. Like, it's really cool to see the things that people bring. And I know it's funny, and probably particularly to creatives sometimes, to hear someone working in tech talk about how creative it is, but I really think it is. Like, there's so much creativity that comes in creating a technology. And then the thing I personally really enjoy is, how do you bring what you've built to other people and let them kind of go wild with it and do really interesting things with it? So when I think about our roadmap and what we're trying to do, we just want to make it easier and easier for people and developers, rights holders, to artists to create with audio, to build on top of audio, and make it as fast and computationally efficient, which I know sounds super uninspiring, but is super important with AI. And because these models are just very large. So, how can you make it as easy in all kind of senses of the word for people to create and build new things? And so if we can help be part of that infrastructure, that's really motivating for us.
Thanks, Jessica Powell, for the last words about what Audioshake is aiming for with their AI to separate stems. It was a pleasure to talk to you and dive into this amazing technology that, in my opinion, will enhance the creativity of many musicians in the coming years. I can't wait. We have seen it with the Beatles, and we will see more, I'm pretty sure. That was the new episode of the Illiac Suite. Thanks for listening, humans. Take care and behave.